The World Healing Tour movement with your host, Noah Crane. Heal yourself, heal the world.
Hey everybody, my name is Lisa Ray. I'm a literary agent and I'm working with the media team here at The Grass Grows where I am, and we are so excited to bring you a co-author experience where you will grow your brand and your visibility. Click the link below and apply now for free, and we will see you inside the pages of The Grass Grows where I am.
3, 2, 1.
Hello, and welcome to the World Healing Tour podcast, where our mission is to help you heal yourself so you can heal the world. Hi, my name is Noah Crane. Each week, we will bring you tips and tools and inspire you to live your most empowered and joyful life. I'm also the author of the book, The Grass is Greenest Where I Am, because the grass is greenest where you are when you say so. When you choose to live in a place of no comparison, no competition, and no scarcity. When you live in your own love and light and share your unique gifts with the world, because we're all unique. And that's why it's called World Healing Tour, because it's your own journey to healing. And when you heal yourself, you truly create a ripple effect for others to heal as well. Each week, I bring incredible guests into studio to pour into you and to help you along the journey, because we all need each other. That's how we grow. My guest today, Mark Dallimore, is a well-being coach that helps conscious professionals and entrepreneurs to unlock a life of inner harmony and purpose. I am so glad I connected with Mark. He has so many incredible things to share, and this is going to be an amazing conversation. Mark, welcome to the World Healing Tour podcast. I'm so excited to have you here with us.
Likewise. Thank you, Noah. Yeah, really looking forward to this one. Really glad we connected, and thank you for the opportunity as well.
Yes, this is so great, and I love your work. And I wanted to start asking you, why in your mind is healing such an important part of becoming who we are in the world?
Well, what a question. If you'd asked me that question 13 years ago, I wouldn't have had a clear answer for you. But I can go into a little bit about my story, and it'd probably make a bit more sense as to why healing is the absolute foundation and cornerstone of my life at this point. So I led a relatively normal life up until the age of 33. So this was about 2012, which for anyone who's familiar with these kind of dates will know that's a very significant date. For me, it turned my life completely upside down. As I said, I was living a relatively normal life up to that point. Not really much that I could talk about on a podcast. You know, fairly comfortable job in a corporate career. Happy in a relationship, but I wasn't really pushing myself to grow or heal because I didn't have to. You know, I was fairly comfortable in life. Around that time, I went on a 3-week trip to Peru, and it really opened me up in a number of ways. I visited the deserts of Nazca and the Amazon jungle, did the Inca Trail, and it opened me up in a spiritual way. And when I came back to the UK, where I live now, I remember one particular day towards the end of the year, 2012, and I was in my corporate office job, not particularly fulfilled my career, and I looked out the window at the city of London around me, and it just hit me like a bit of a lightning bolt, really, at how disconnected I was in my life at that point. You know, I had this amazing spiritual opening in Peru, and to come back to the UK was such a contrast. And what happened was it created like what they would call in Western psychology disassociation. What I came to later learn on the shamanic path was this is called soul loss. So it was effective from an energetic perspective, and a lot of the work I talk about is energetics now, an overwhelming sense of disconnection from my purpose, from who I was, from the planet, from nature as a whole, from everything, hit my system, didn't know how to process it. I kind of got lost in my mind. And what happens then when we experience a trauma and we don't know how to feel through it, we don't know how to face it, is that a part of our soul or a part of our energy will actually leave us in that situation to take the experience away. And the idea is that that part will then come back after a period of time and reintegrate the experience.
So Mark,
But for
really,
me, this was,
Mark, really fast. So when you came back from this amazing trip that you had in Peru, you all of a sudden realized that you're not fulfilled in your life. Was that part of it?
it was, but it was more than that. It was also a feeling of being in the city, completely disconnected from the planet, from nature, from the purpose, and who I was. So it was a profound sense of just being lost and disconnected. That's all I can describe it as. But from that moment, I said life turned upside down for me, really. From having a relatively balanced and a good mental health up to that point, it was like a lightning bolt that hit me. And I suddenly started experiencing waves of intense depression. I was getting a lot of voices, negative voices. I was getting negative visions. It really was like I was dropped into a hell realm, basically, internally. Although my life carried along as it did before, and I tried my best to maintain my balance, my whole internal world was turned upside down. At the time, it was very frightening for me. When I asked people about it, they had no idea what I was going through. Went to doctors, went to psychologists, went to counselors. They had no idea. And of course, their solution is to push you down the route of medication. And I quickly realized down that route that it wasn't for me, that in fact, it was just numbing me to my experience and wasn't helping me at all. Looking back now, it makes a lot more sense because, this is the dark night of the soul, which I'm sure many of your listeners, many of your viewers will be familiar with. And this often happens at the beginning of an awakening experience. What happens is it begins to shed the ego. We shed our traumas. We shed our beliefs of who we thought we were. And what appears is who we truly are, the light of who we truly are. Now, this didn't happen overnight. This was at least 9-10 years of healing. And when I say healing, I first of all started to explore Buddhism, meditating in Buddhist monasteries for extended periods of time. And what I started to realize eventually through a lot of meditation is that I could observe my mind, which for me is like the first step in the awakening journey. And I'm sure a lot of your viewers were familiar with this, being able to listen to the mind. But that really is a crucial step, because instead of being caught up in the darkness of my mind and believing all these voices that I was hearing about what a terrible person I was and all the mistakes I'd made in the past, and really getting dragged down by those thoughts, I realized that I could distance myself a little bit from the thoughts and listen to them without getting caught up in them.
Yeah,
And that was a crucial first step.
Yeah, and that's very powerful. I just wanted to make sure, being able to observe without judgment, right?
Exactly. So, what you realize is that you don't have to fight those thoughts. You don't have to reframe them. You don't have to change them to positive thoughts, because what I found when I tried to do a lot of that kind of mindset work, for me, I found that I was just getting caught up more and more in it. And of course, that phrase in Buddhism, what we resist persists. And I found that as I tried to fight the negativity, the negative emotions, they just got stronger and stronger and stronger. And what I realized is that, yes, the first step would be to listen to them impartially without believing them, which is a massive first step.
Right. So being like an observer of your thoughts, but not internalizing them, not knowing that they're not the truth, right? They're just thoughts.
Exactly.
They're out there, they're flying, not beating yourself up, not getting depressed over them, but just being aware of them and saying, it's interesting, but it's not who I am.
Exactly. You nailed it. And this is the thing, what you realize over a period of time is, okay, if I'm not my mind, and this was quite a difficult realization for me, if I'm not my mind and I can listen to my mind, then who am I? If I'm not my thoughts, what am I exactly? And I was on retreat once and I asked one of the senior monks that, and I mentioned that I was getting caught up in this idea of who am I? And he said, you basically got, if thoughts are like trains, when you get caught up in the thought of who am I, you got caught under the train, basically. So the idea is to sit on the platform and watch the train of thoughts go by. That was quite a profound thing for me, because what you realize, if I am the awareness of the thoughts and I'm not the thoughts themselves, then none of the thoughts are actually about me. You can remain the impartial observer. Oh, there's a negative thought, there's a positive thought, and you can decide which trains to get on and which trains to get off, if that makes sense. So if you hear a negative thought comes by, you can, okay, I'm going to let that go. I'm going to observe that one. Positive thought comes along. Okay, I'm going to get on that train. And so what you can start to do is kind of like gardening, really. Pull up the weeds and you grow the flowers. If you think of it like the garden is the mind is like a garden.
Yeah, that is a really powerful place to stand, to be able to differentiate between what you want to take in and what you don't want to take in, right? Because we have a choice always of what to internalize and what not. And one of the work that I did, I learned that, we're meaning making machines and we make meaning out of everything. And we're really good at beating ourselves up. So when we stop making meaning out of everything and making everything mean about us, it gives us a lot of like freedom.
Yeah, exactly. And as I say, that's an amazing first step. If you realize that these, like you said, I'm not beating myself up. I have nothing to do with this. This is just some internal drama that I'm just witnessing, almost like a movie, Oh, I thought about how great I am. Okay, interesting. I thought about how terrible I am. Okay, interesting. I'm not believing any of those thoughts. So absolutely huge step. But what I would say on that Buddhist path is that I didn't experience healing. What I did experience is more kind of self-realization, you could say, which was powerful. But what I realized over time is that I needed to go a bit deeper in order to heal myself, because my trauma was so deep. It was such a profound shattering of me on a kind of energetic and soul level. So I then went on to, I won't go into too much detail because I know we've got a lot to cover, but it took me on a path then through shamanism. Now, anyone who's explored shamanism, particularly with plant medicine, when I talk about plant medicine, these are plants that are being used in indigenous cultures in places like the Amazon and Peru for thousands of years that shamans use to help people heal. Ayahuasca, San Pedro, for example, many other plants they use. Exactly, that are native in the UK. I went down the ayahuasca route, which is obviously becoming better well known in our culture nowadays, but wasn't so well known back then when I started exploring it in 2014. Working with shamans in the UK, went over to Peru as well, worked with indigenous shamans on retreat out there. I did a 10-day retreat in Peru, in the Amazon, the most terrifying experience I've ever had in my life. I wouldn't advise anybody to go down that route, but you have to trust your calling with the plants. But over a period of years, working with shamans in the UK and with Peru, as I said, I started to understand what had happened to me. As I said, they call it soul loss. This is when your soul fractures energetically, when an intense energetic charge hits your system. We all have different ways of processing energy. I won't go into the different personality patterns, but my pattern was to go up and out of my body, which leaves you open to mental health problems. Anyway, slowly, for a period of soul retrieval ceremonies, I was able to start healing my fragmented parts and integrating them back into the whole, and understand a bit more about what had happened to me and why it happened to me. There was no accident in this trauma happening to me. It was the event that started my awakening journey. I had to distance myself from the mind in order to understand who I was as the witness or pure awareness. It wasn't the journey that I would have chose, but here we go. That's what the universe chose for me.
So Mark, let me ask you something. So you had to be pretty open to be able to be willing to go on this journey that you did, because that's most people don't take that journey, right? Going to the ayahuasca, to have the shamans work with the shamans. I mean, it has to be a certain kind of mindset to be able. Was the suffering that much that you were willing to try different things to heal yourself?
Exactly right. I mean, it was a suffering that I can't explain. We all understand physical pain, but mental and I would say even spiritual pain on that level was something that what I felt was the universe was saying, evolve or die, basically. It was a shedding of everything that I was. And you're right, I had a choice. I can either numb myself through medication, which is obviously the Western route. I could just continually take more and more medication and numb myself to the world, basically. Or what I could do is just face this head on and just try. I basically tried every different healing method I could find. I can't even talk about them all here, but those were the main ones that helped me in order to find something that worked, because my mind was in such a dark place. I really feared that I would get through the experience at all. And there has to be a level of just commitment to the journey. I don't care how long it takes. I'm going to heal myself. And I don't know, maybe not everyone has that, but certainly I had that determination to just keep going. And I knew that I would eventually find something that worked. And I made a resolution: when I find something that works, in terms of my healing, I'm going to share it with the world. And that was my determination.
I love that. And it's almost like your determination overtook any fear that you had, right? Because like you said, the Amazon experience was terrifying. You wouldn't recommend it to anybody.
Absolutely.
But you let that fear go just because you were so wanting to get better, you know? So you had to let go of the
Exactly.
fear of trying something different. Yeah, that's powerful.
Exactly. And I touched on these ceremonies a little bit. The first ceremony, I've actually written a blog on it on my site if anyone want to read it. But I went for a series of absolutely terrifying ceremonies. The medicine over there is particularly powerful, as you can imagine. I think it was the third ceremony, actually. I don't tell everyone this story, actually, but I think your audience would be open to it. I actually had experience where I felt like I met God. Now, that might sound like quite a far out thing, but it's actually quite common when it comes to ayahuasca for people to have an experience of God. And it appeared to me as a wall of shifting colors and shapes, just an infinite wall. And I was just looking at this absolute massive wall in front of me. And it seemed to say to me, why have you come here? And I remember, in my mind saying to this, what felt like God, I just want to heal myself. And then it just disappeared, and there was more visions off the back of that. I haven't had that experience since, where I've had a divine realization, experience like that, where I felt like I've met God. But it was obviously necessary for my healing to go there, and somehow I got through the 5 ceremonies in 10 days. Each ceremony felt like it lasted thousands of years. I can't even explain it. If you've anyone who's done plant medicine will understand it when I say that. But time really does extend, and it feels like you're in there for much longer than you are. But yes. Anyway, after a series of, I think, about 20 ceremonies I did in all, I felt myself starting to find some sense of internal balance again. And I felt like in about 2019, as I said, I wanted to share what I'd learned with other people, although I had a lot of healing to do. Around that time, I met a couple of coaches based in the US, and they shared with me a method. Now, what I would say about plant medicine and that work, it's not for everyone. As I said, you've got to trust your calling, and that's why I don't really recommend it to people, because I know people who've gone out there and come back a lot worse than when they went out there. So you've got to be really careful who you go to. It's not for everyone. It's an incredibly powerful experience, and you really are pushing the accelerator on your spiritual development. So you have to be ready for it. So that's why I don't recommend that path to everybody. What I found after that was a path, what I would call energetic healing, which I do believe is open to everybody. Worked with a couple of fantastic coaches in the US, and they kind of condensed what I'd learnt in those 10 years into a particular method that I call energetic mirroring. And it combines the fact that you can incorporate a practice into your daily life that you can with meditation, and it incorporates some of the healing benefits that you get with shamanism. It's a very simple method, and I've been able to condense it down into 3 aspects. I can go through if you want.
Yes, I would love to hear those 3 aspects.
Yeah. Well, what I found is that there's really 3 essentials when it comes to healing. And when I speak to people now, a lot of people get very confused when it comes to spirituality and healing. There's so many different methods out there. There's crystals, and there's Akashic records, and there's angels, and there's a whole spiritual supermarket basically you can choose from when it comes to healing. And I try and make it as simple as possible, because if you're drawn to those paths, fantastic, and you've got to trust what's right for you. But what I discovered on my own path, I like to keep it as simple as possible. The 3 main aspects. Number 1, bringing mind and body to rest. So our systems, our bodies know how to heal themselves. The reason why they aren't able to is because we're constantly active, physically active and mentally active. And when our system is active in that way, our energetic system is tense, is tight, and it can't relax. Healing can only happen when we're fully relaxed and let go. So it's essential that we bring mind and body to rest. I always say to people, healing is not lying on the sofa watching Netflix or repeating mantras or walking in the forest. It happens when we bring mind and body to rest. Just like, if you were to leave your garden alone for a month, it would start to change. And what would happen is it would start to bring itself back into balance. It wouldn't necessarily be what we would want as a garden. It would look overgrown and there'd be all kinds of plants we wouldn't want there. But what would happen is that nature would bring the garden back into balance for the harmony of the insects, for the birds, for the animals, and they would all flourish in that environment, even though that might not be what we want. But that's just to say that the universe has this divine intelligence that is always trying to bring things back into balance, just like it does with the planets and the stars and everything else. So if we're able to leave and stop meddling with our internal experience and just let it be, it will start to heal itself. But there's the second essential aspect.
Well, before we go to the second one, let's talk about this one a little bit more, about the mind and body rest. Can you break it down a little bit to people what that means to have that, to create that in their lives? The mind and body rest.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, I think we can all relate to bringing the body to rest. But how often do we actually do it? I mean, I don't know many people who actually would sit in full rest without stimulation. And that's the key. It's all very well, lying down on the sofa, for example. But to bring mind to rest is not easy because we're so overstimulated in our environment. Social media, television, I mean, there's so much going on all the time. So when we sit, if you have anyone here who's listening to this actually sat in meditation, you know what I mean. If you sit for any period of time, the mind will continually take you out into thought. It'll take you into thoughts about the past, thoughts about the future, what you got to do today, regrets about what happened yesterday. And so it's actually very difficult to still the mind long enough for it to let go and for the body to begin the healing process.
So, Mark, would that be, I don't mean to cut you off, but would that be, so it wouldn't be, like you said, you're not watching Netflix or something on TV, right? So what are you doing? Are you in meditation or can you like sleep? Would that be bringing the body to rest, sleeping, or is that not? Or do you have to be sitting up in a meditation?
You can certainly lie down. I would say that with the difference with sleep is that you go back into the unconscious mind. So it's a different, it's a different state of consciousness. And, there's obviously a lot of healing that goes on during the sleep process, but we can enhance and add to that healing consciously through in the day as well. So yes, there's certainly a tremendous amount of healing that we can do in sleep. But also, if we are doing these healing practices during the day, we will sleep better and deeper as well as a result.
Yeah. So a lot of it is just like maybe consciously either laying down or sitting up, just closing your eyes and just maybe listening to some music or something. Or what would you say would be?
We can do. It's it brings me on to the second point in a moment. What was I going to say? There was something else I was going to break around that. But
I was trying to figure out if they should be in a meditation or if they can do it also lying down.
Yes, you can lie down. It's fine. But the tendency with lying down is that you can fall asleep. It is better to sit up, I find, and put yourself in a posture with the spine erect. And also closing the eyes is important because when the eyes are open, you have that subject-object view. So there's always this sense of being separate, which is how the brain works, basically. When you close your eyes, you remove the idea of being separate, and so you can merge better with everything around you. You can merge better with your feelings and emotions better than if you're, with the eyes open. It's very difficult to drop into your body, and that's what I was going to say is that healing happens. We can't think ourselves to healing. So in order to heal, we need to start feeling into the emotions within our body, into the energetic system, into our bodies. That's how healing takes place.
Yeah, so that's a great first step. So you explained that well. Thank you.
Thank you. I hope so. Hope people understood that one. But I can do an actual demonstration here in a moment if you like. But a second aspect is trusted support. Really important to have a trusted space holder with you when you do this, because if you're on your own, the system, our body doesn't feel safe, and so it's constantly in what I call problem solver mode. The mind is constantly trying to solve problems. As I said, what's happening tomorrow? What happened yesterday? So if you ever sat on your own in meditation, you'll realize that the mind is always taking you out of the present moment where healing takes place. So it's very important to have a trusted space holder with you, someone who knows how to hold space, someone who can create a space of safety and support for you. And when the system feels safe and connected, it can relax and healing can start to take place.
How do you find that trusted somebody to hold that space for you? Trusted space holder. How do you find that?
Yeah, it is. It is. It's a challenge. Somebody who has done a level of work on themselves that they can hold space for themselves in their own parts and maintain awareness within their own system. I work with a lot of different counselors and psychologists initially, and what I found is that they weren't able to do that. They hadn't done that level of work, and so when I was talking, they weren't able to hold the space. They weren't able to stay in the present moment. They were getting triggered by what I was saying, and it was like there was my system was getting tense, their system was getting tense. It's really important to find somebody who has done a level of this inner work on themselves, to know how to maintain their awareness within their own bodies, because what will happen is your system will template theirs. So if their system is dysregulated, you will just naturally begin to template their system. Likewise, if my system is grounded,
you'll feel the energetics. You'll feel their energetics, right?
Exactly.
Okay.
That's how we work as human beings. Yeah, we've got mirror neurons, and we will, for example, I'm speaking to you now, I'm picking up on your system, you're picking up on my energy. And as a result, if you've ever been around somebody who's really angry, you notice it has an impact on your system. If you've been around somebody who's very grounded and calm, then it will have an impact on your system. So it's really important to work with somebody who's done a level of this work on themselves, that knows how to hold space, that knows how to maintain awareness within their own body.
So
it's
Mark,
really crucial, because you'll template their energy.
Makes sense. Makes a lot of sense. Now, my question to you is, so you can't do this on your own to heal yourself. You need to have somebody to hold the space for you. So when you're meditating, you have to have somebody there with you, or either could it be virtual or in person, or what's your thoughts about that?
That's a great question. Now, I wouldn't say to throw meditation alone out completely. I meditate on my own for 30 minutes each morning, one of the first things I do. But I think that is great for perhaps removing some of the surface level energy and maintaining awareness, building awareness of the mind, not getting caught up in the mind. When it comes to healing, I believe that it's not something you can do on your own. This is my experience of my own healing journey, working with trusted space holders. Really, really, really important to work with others. And what was the other thing you said then, Noah? There's something else I was going to bring up as well.
I was going to say, can you do it with somebody virtually? And also, can that space holder, do they coach you as well, or are they just holding space for you when you're meditating?
Yes, that's a great point. That's what I was going to say. We live in an incredible time. Just a few decades ago, if you wanted to work with a healer, you would have had to do it physically in the same room as that person, and you can still do that. I attend ceremonies in a physical room with healers, but I also do work every day where I sit with my community and clients, and I can be in the UK, they could be in Australia or the US, and you can experience the same benefit as if we were in the same room together. This is the incredible benefit of the time we're living in, because energy isn't restricted by time or space. Like I said, if I was to start shouting now irrationally on this podcast, you would feel it, the same as any of your viewers or listeners. So the fact that we're not actually in the same room together and we're connecting on Zoom, you can still feel my energy. And if I bring myself into my own system and I start emitting a certain presence, a certain energy, you will feel it. Your system will start to relax, the same as my system starts to relax. And that's the amazing thing, is that you can do healing now from the comfort of your own home, on your own sofa. And this is what I do with my community. Every evening we connect together on Zoom, maybe sort of 10 of us, we drop into our systems, and we template each other's energy, and healing can start to take place. This is really important, because trauma's build up every day. We have interactions with people, things don't go our way, there's frustrations and things build up during the day. So we need to have a way of what I call energetic hygiene, clearing energy as it comes up every day. So at the end of every day, we can clear out our energetic system so the energy doesn't build up and get stuck over time and create a major trauma for us. This is the problem that most people have, is they don't have a regular practice of energetic hygiene. And so dysregulated energy builds up and up and up and up. And at some point, there's a breakdown of some kind, that it just completely overwhelms us. But if we're regularly connecting with others, regularly committing to our healing practice, we can clear this energy at the end of each day. And so we can maintain that, grounded resource place when we come into a new day.
Yeah, and do you and your group also share at the end, or is it just holding space for is there a discussion to help you also release
Yeah.
some of it?
Yeah, good question. I mean, it's when I do a session with my clients, I tend to split it in two. There'll be half of it will be, like a classic coaching session. So I'll literally ask questions about what's coming up for them in their life and give them the chance to talk through what's happening. I still think that's really important. You could say traditional talk therapy, but what I find with talk therapy or counseling and the clients that I work with, and they've been doing it for years, is that it has its limitations. It's great to talk about our traumas because it brings energy to the surface. But what it can often do is just re-traumatize the system if we don't process the underlying energy. So the way I structure my sessions is we'll talk through what's coming up for you at the moment, what's front of mind, um, and just listen and hold that trusted, supportive space so they can bring anything up that they're dealing with at the moment. And the second half of the session is dropping in together and just feeling through whatever has come to the surface, which is really important. So talking about the trauma brings it to the surface, then we go into the body, we feel through it all to clear it. So that I find really effective, and that we're bringing up the energy and clearing it, and that I find is sometimes missing from traditional therapies that I experienced.
No, that's very powerful, and it's just having support. I think we all need support in this world, and so we're not alone. So we know because there is so much power behind the collective, right? And so trying to heal yourself on your own and doing the journey on your own in general is not really conducive to really becoming the person you are or healing yourself long term. So what you're doing is you're creating that space for them to heal, to release, to let go, so they can actually live better and happier lives.
Exactly.
No,
And
that's very powerful. But 1 second, we're going to take a
yeah,
quick commercial. Hold
yeah,
that
sure,
thought.
go for
Hold
it.
that thought 1 second. We're going to take a quick commercial break from our sponsors, and we'll be right back with Mark.
Hi, I'm Chris Trammell. I'm the marketing director for The Grass Grows Where I Am, and we can't wait to work with you. And if being in this anthology book would make a difference for your brand, your visibility, and your profitability, click the link below and let's get you started. Can't wait to work with you.
And we are back with Mark Dallimore. Welcome back. So, did you have a thought that you wanted to say before we go on to the next thing?
Yeah, I love what you said then. Human beings are social animals. We're not like big cats who kind of roam around in the wild on our own. We evolved in communities, tribes, small groups, and that's where we're at our best. Now, something has happened in our modern society where we disconnected ourselves, and there's a number of reasons why that might be happening, but human beings work best when they're in communities, and this is something that I'm so keen. It's the foundation of all my programs is building communities so that we can sit together, we can talk together, and we can heal together. What is the worst thing you can do to a human being? It's put them in solitary confinement, like literally remove them from other people. It's absolutely essential for our well-being and our mental health to be with others. And I say, in my experience, you can't heal without others, so it's absolutely essential. The other thing I was going to say is that often what happens when we experience a trauma is because we feel disconnected and alone. Now, a lot of these traumas will go way back to childhood. Some of these traumas go back to points that we can't even remember. They may have happened even pre-birth, but they generally build up and up over time when we experience that disconnection, an emotional breakup, or bullying in school, or whatever, a parent who is physically there but not emotionally there. We just sense that disconnection, and that creates traumas within our energetic system. The way I explain it is like imagine a stream. When we fail to feel through energy for whatever reason, it's too much for our system, it creates a kink or a blockage in our energetic system, and they're like boulders in a stream. So that imagine the stream of energy that comes down from our crown. These blockages in our energetic system block the flow of energy as it flows down our energetic system. That lowers our vibration and leads to unpleasant emotions, mental health challenges, for example, depending on how big these blockages are. Now, the way to heal these blockages is to give these parts that are frozen in time, they're like childhood versions of ourselves, these traumas, is to give the childhood version of ourselves the connection and support that it missed when the trauma was formed. So the key really is when you're feeding into these, I mean, we can do a little exercise now if you like, Noah.
Sure.
Have we got time?
Definitely.
Yeah, sure. Okay. Let's just take a moment then. I'll give you a direct experience because we can talk about healing all night, but that isn't healing. What we're doing is we're not healing at the moment. We're in our minds. So in order to have a direct experience of healing, just take a moment now and just close your eyes. And just feel into the support beneath you. So whether you're on the chair or you're lying down, just feel into the support against your back or the bottom of your legs. Notice the earth beneath your feet. And just sink into that a little bit. Just notice that you are held, that you are safe and you're supported. And as you do that, just take one deep breath. So all the way in, hold, and then release all the way out. And then just start to release some of the tension in your body. So that some places where we hold energy, the forehead, relax the muscles in the forehead, around the eyes, the cheeks, the jaw, just relax your jaw. We tend to tense our jaw when we're stressed. Drop your shoulders. Relax the arms, the hands, the fingers, the torso. And then let that relaxation run down your legs, past the knees to your ankles, feet, and toes. So just consciously to release any tension in the body. And then just for a moment, bring awareness to your breath. So there's an area just at the front of your nostrils, and there's a slight cooling on the in-breath and a slight warming on the out-breath. And just bring your awareness to that part of your body just for a moment. And what will happen is you'll start to recharge again in the present moment. Just spending a moment here. And with every out breath, just see if you can sink a little bit more into that support beneath you. Just letting go a little bit more, whatever feels comfortable for you. And then bring your awareness to the torso. So there's a line down the middle of the body, which I call our energetic system. These are our chakra system. And the area between the throat and the stomach is where the majority of our traumas are stored. And just bring your awareness to whichever sensation feels most uncomfortable or difficult to be with. Now, it could feel like a tightening or a pressure, a pinching, or a collapse even. Just gently bring your awareness to that feeling. If I bring it, for me, there's a bit of a pressure on the stomach and a bit of tightening in the center of the chest, but whatever's there for you is perfect. Just gently feel into it, not trying to move it or change it. And what you'll notice is it starts to change and move all by itself. And this is what I said about the body knows how to heal itself. We don't do healing. The body starts to heal itself when we start to bring mind and body to rest. Now, as you're feeling into this uncomfortable sensation, just notice you're not alone here. Myself and Noah are here, as well as everybody else who's listening. And you can put your awareness on me, whether you're listening now or on the replay. You can put your awareness on Noah and take in her support. And so you can toggle your awareness between the uncomfortable sensation and the support, and just drink in that support, take in that resource that's available to you. And that will help you to stay with some comfortable emotion, sensation, long enough for it to be processed. Okay. Just to give you a little example of this work, very brief example. So when you're ready, just find yourself back in the room where you are again, and just open your eyes as soon as you're ready. How was that for you now? Did you feel a little shift in consciousness there?
Oh my God, I totally did. I felt that real tightness in my abdominal area, around my belly button area. There was such a tightness there, right? And you were saying, like, keep breathing, and it, it's gonna start moving, and all of a sudden it like released, and I just felt more, and like literally my body, like I was sitting up, and literally I like melted back, like I just
Exactly.
let go.
We don't
and
even
it was-
realize how much tension we're holding.
Yes,
Just going for our daily lives. Just sat right now, our shoulders are tense, our jaws tense.
Yes.
And most people, when I'm listening to podcasts and webinars, we're doing something else at the same time. So we're constantly so active. But just to bring ourselves back into the present moment, bring ourselves to rest, and just let the body process whatever it's ready to process. We're not trying to make anything happen. We don't do healing. It just happens naturally when we allow it to. So that's a very, very quick example there of what I'm talking about. But it's all about direct experience, as you know, with healing.
No, that was very
We
powerful.
can talk about healing all night.
That was very powerful. Let's talk about number 3, the third element
Number
of healing.
3.
Yeah.
Oh, well remembered. So just a recap, quick recap: bringing mind and body to rest, trusted support. The final aspect, there's no quick fix. Even going to an ayahuasca ceremony in the Amazon with indigenous shaman for 10 days, 5 ceremonies, you're not going to come back healed. I'm sorry to break that to anyone, but your treats are amazing. They can really accelerate healing, but some of these traumas, they've been in our systems for decades, and they may even go back to our lineage and past lives even, who knows? But healing is never a done process. We never get to the point where we're finished healing. And so it's really important that we have number 3, which is a dedicated practice. And this is what's so amazing about meditation, the work that I do, for example, working in community, is that when it comes to healing, you need something you can do every day. You need to be clearing out your system every day. So that's why, the practices that I teach people and work with people and help people with, they incorporate those 3 aspects: bringing mind and body to rest, trusted support, and a dedicated daily practice. We need to have a way of cleansing our energetic system every day so that we can move energy through as it builds up. It's no good just doing a retreat every 6 months or 2 months, whatever it is. We need to have a way of clearing out energy constantly, because it's always building up. There's always dysregulated energy building up in our system as a consequence of the society we live in.
And how does that, I know we talked a lot about purpose and how you work with people with
we haven't even gotten to purpose.
Yes. So I wanted to see how that all kind of ties together for people.
Yeah, sure. Well, thank you for reminding me. What I would say is that what we talked about so far is what I call inner purpose. Now, we all share the same inner purpose, which is to heal ourselves and self-realize. We're all when we go down to a spiritual level, we're all the same consciousness expressing itself in different ways. And our inner purpose, the reason why we're here in human form, really is to realize who we truly are, is that awareness of our experience, that loving awareness, as you could say. Now, by reconnecting with our inner purpose, reconnecting with source, healing ourselves, we start to raise our vibration. We start to gain energy and resource and balance to carry out what I call our outer purpose. Now, there's a distinct difference between inner purpose and outer purpose. Inner purpose is the work of healing ourselves, the work of being. Outer purpose is the work of doing. These are the actions we take in the world. Now, it's really important to first connect with our inner purpose. Otherwise, we're never going to be fulfilled by the work we do in the external world. But once we're connected internally, we have that resource, we have that fulfillment inside that isn't dependent on what we do in the external world. But, I think we all reach a point on the healing journey, on the spiritual journey, where we feel like, I want to give back in some way. I want to help others. And this then can become our outer purpose. Now, when it comes to outer purpose, as opposed to the inner purpose, it's different for each person. We all have different skills. We all have different passions. We all have different gifts. And so there's another journey that we go into then when we craft our outer purpose. That's been my journey in recent years, finding out my unique way of serving others, which has been through the healing work that helped me so much. But it'll be different for everybody. And this is the work of, looking into our story, crafting our values, getting clear on our passions. And when we combine our inner purpose, the work of healing ourselves, with our outer purpose, the work of helping and serving others, then that for me is a fully aligned human being, is what I call a conscious creator. You're aligned internally, you know who you are beyond the thinking mind, and you're empowered and resourced enough to carry out your outer purpose. So you can then go and help as many people as possible in this life experience. And as I say, this can then become, for example, a business like I've created, like I'm sure you created, Noah, and many other people create on the journey. And the amazing thing about business is then it's like an energy exchange. Money becomes an energy exchange so that you can create a life of abundance for yourself, so you can continually invest in your own healing and development. You can have amazing experiences and travel and all the things that we want to do in our lives, all things we're called to experience in life, we can do when we're clear on our inner purpose. It forms our outer purpose, and then we serve others and we receive money as an exchange, which enables us to step into our true power and experience a life of increasing abundance. Hopefully that makes sense.
Yeah, it does. And does that take you out of a place of scarcity? Because there's a lot of people out there that do have scarcity around them and they don't think that's enough. What can you say about that? Is that because they're not aligned with their soul mission?
Exactly. For example, I've tried to create numerous businesses over the years, and they never really worked. And what I realized is I was doing it from a place of scarcity and lack and fear. I was desperate for this business to work so that I could escape my corporate career. And what's important to realize is it's not so much the actions we take in the world that are important, it's the energy behind the action. So if you're building a business from scarcity and lack, and you don't know your real purpose, internal or external purpose, then the business is formed from a low vibration energy. You're going to get low vibration results. This is why I say it's really important to connect internally first. When we're aware of our internal purpose, we can create that feeling of connection to source, that fulfillment, that abundance internally. And then when you create something, a unique way of serving others through a business, for example, you're creating it from a higher vibration, and you connect with the right people, and you can, you get the right results at the end of it. You can receive that energy exchange in a way of money, and then you create an abundant life for yourself. So yeah, it's really important to connect internally first, because so many entrepreneurs, for example, they get to the mountain of external success, fame and money and followers or whatever it is, and they realize that it's hollow. They just have to chase another goal, keep chasing a goal after a goal after a goal. But when you're aligned internally and you have that inner fulfillment, you're not so attached to the external world. You can chase external goals, but you're not attached to them. If they happen, great. If they don't, no problem. I'm not looking for fulfillment or happiness in the external world, because I found that within myself. So that's why it's so important to start within a purpose, and that's why my programs are all focused predominantly on that inner work.
And how important is self-love to be able to get to that place of purpose?
Yeah, self-love. There's a fair bit of confusion out there about the term self-love. I think most people, when they hear the term self-love, they think about what I call self-care, which is really important. Caring for the body, eating well, going for a spa weekend, or whatever it is, walking in nature, looking after the body, which is a fundamental part of self-love. But for me, self-love goes deeper than that. For me, self-love is a process of acceptance of all aspects of our being. So like I talked about earlier, being able to sit with yourself without distraction is self-love. Sitting with all the different thoughts that come up, all the different feelings that come up, and not judging them, not pushing them away, not shaming yourself for having those thoughts. Just sitting with our internal experience, listening to the thoughts, feeling through the emotions that come up. That for me is at the core of self-love. It's really more about self-acceptance, embracing all aspects of ourselves, the light and the dark, and just realizing that that's what we are in human form. We're a mix of the light and the dark. There's never going to be a point where we get to where we're just all light and love. We're always going to have this other darker aspect to ourselves. It's really embracing our shadow self, just listening impartially, sitting with our childhood parts, embracing them energetically, holding them. And that for me is at the core of self-love. As we do that inner healing work, we incorporate all these fractured parts of ourselves, and we make ourselves a more integrated and empowered human being. So, healing really is at the core of self-love. It's not just about taking care of the body. It's, from a spiritual perspective, for me, it's about the ability to be able to sit with ourselves without distraction, and just be with all these frightened parts, or parts that feel they're unworthy or not good enough, and just sit with them, feel into them, and just give them that connection and presence that they missed when they were formed.
Yeah, and so often we run away from those feelings, so we don't want to be with ourselves, because it's too hard,
Exactly.
so we're always trying to like go out, do things, be around other people, but we can't really reach our purpose if we're always out in the outside world. We have to come in, and so in order to create what you want to create, you have to find that self connection and learn to be with yourself, because if you can't learn to be with yourself, how can you truly bring your passion and purpose to the world?
Exactly. And then obviously that flows out into our closest relationships. If we don't love ourselves, how can we expect someone else to love us? But it's not really about if we listen to the mind, one day it'll tell us I love myself. The next day it'll say I hate myself. Like I said earlier, that's all the ego. It's really about realizing that you are loving awareness. You are the awareness witnessing the mind. So if the mind says I hate myself one morning, and then the next day it wakes up and says I love myself, you're just like, oh, okay, just listening, impartially, realizing that that's all part of the ego. Sometimes the ego hates a certain person. A politician comes on the TV, I hate that person. Or another person comes on the TV, I love that person. This is all part of the game of the ego. So it's really that the journey is learning who. Again, it's self-realization. Know thyself. Stepping into that perspective of the witness. And
Yeah.
as you cultivate it, that journey, you uncover more and more of who you really are. Not to say you don't get caught up by the ego at times, but you remember to come back. Remember who you are again and witness your experience instead of getting caught up in the whole internal drama.
Yeah, and you said something yesterday when we spoke about not letting the ego be the driver in the driving seat, putting the
Oh, yes.
passenger.
Yeah, this analogy often connects with people. A lot of people think on the spiritual path. I hear this a lot on the Buddhist path, which is, the idea is we have to silence the mind. We have to kill the ego, but that is more ego. Like I said earlier, what we resist persists. If you're trying to get rid of the ego, you're trying to push the ego away. If you think the ego is wrong, it will get stronger and stronger. The work really is to have the ego, if you like, in the passenger seat, and you want awareness who you really are in the driver's seat. For most people, the ego is in the driver's seat, it's driving them around, and awareness who they really are is in the passenger seat, getting pulled around all over the place. But this is the work really of not trying to get rid of the ego. The ego has its place, and its job is basically to keep us alive, for it to help us survive, to stop us from stepping out into the road or getting to physical confrontations or whatever it might be. It's there for a reason, to help us learn and grow in this human form. But if we get caught up in believing we are it, that's where the problem starts. The mind is a wonderful tool, a fantastic tool. We're not trying to silence our mind, we're listening to our mind. But as the saying goes, wonderful tool, terrible master. So it's really important to know that we're not trying to silence our mind in meditation. We're listening to our mind. And what happens as a consequence of listening to your mind is it eventually goes quiet. But if you go into meditation thinking, I must silence my mind, it'll get louder and louder and louder. And that's where people give up on meditation. If you go into meditation thinking, my only goal is to be with my present moment experience. If I get caught up in thought, okay, come back to the present moment. Oh, I got caught up in thought again for 10 minutes. Okay, come back to the present moment. And that's all it is. Keep it very simple. I'm all for keeping healing and spirituality as simple as possible. And the ego can be our friend. It doesn't have to be an enemy.
And great. I love that. That's great advice. And how about as far as a routine that you could share with our viewers? Some kind of a morning routine or some kind of a routine to get themselves in a good place?
Yeah. Well, I've got my own routine that I've kind of crafted over a number of years, and we all have different practices that work for us. But I'll share what works for me. What I find it's good when you first wake up from sleep. What you don't want is an alarm waking you up and then getting up out of bed straight away. I like to lie in meditation in my bed for at least sort of 15, 20 minutes. Just feel through the energy that's come up and is the residue energy that's left over after sleeping. You don't want to get up straight away. Just give you a chance to process the dreams that have come up for you during the night. Then what I do, I come downstairs, do some gentle yoga exercises just to begin waking the body up. Then I'll go for about 15 minutes of gratitude. I go through everything that I'm grateful for in my life. I'm even grateful for the challenges that I experienced, the darkness I experienced in the past, all my teachers, all my guides, all my, everyone who's helped me on my journey. Then I'll go into 30-minute meditation, and I'll just sit and I'll just feel through my experience. Like I said, listening to my mind, feeling through any emotions in the body, and that's that energetic hygiene process. Now, the only thing I would add is don't go for coffee straight away. Something I've learned on my own path is, just rehydrate your system. A little bit of sea salt in there, just add some minerals. And then what I like to do is just do a bit of intermittent fasting. Don't eat anything until maybe sort of 10:30, 11 in the morning. And that gives your body a chance to build energy. If we eat something quite dense first thing in the morning, it immediately starts dropping our vibration because we have to start digesting it. So something simple like a smoothie, and that'll set you up for the day. And in the evening is when I then reach out to my community, and we sit in a group on Zoom, and we all connect and we all get that support together and just feel for our experience, process any energy that's built up during the day. So, and just add in a 20-minute walk in nature in the middle of the day, and you're away. That's what works for me.
Mark, do you when you talk about gratitude, do you sit with your eyes closed and just think of what you're grateful for and the people on the journey, or do you write it down?
For me, it's I'll close my eyes, I just have my hands together, and I just have a process where I just go through a series of things that I'm grateful for. As I said, all the light, all the dark, my parents, grandparents, the light, the dark that I've experienced in my life, all my guides, teachers, coaches I've experienced in my life, everything. It's a whole routine that I go through, Mother Earth and God and everything that I can think of, really. Journaling I tend to do if there's something, I feel my mind is kind of churning something over and it needs to be released, and I'll do a bit of journaling. But for me, yeah, that gratitude process is one of just kind of like repeating things internally that I just go through with my eyes closed.
Is there any particular time that you go to sleep or that you wake up that helps you energetically?
Yeah, well, I think that I'm not one of these people. I think you've got to trust your own body. I'm reluctant to give too much advice because everyone's different, especially when it comes to diet and things like that. You just got to trust your body and see how it feels, and eat the food that energizes you. Certain foods that I eat that wouldn't be good for others, for example. But when it comes to sleep, for me, it's 10 p.m. I'm generally off to bed, and then usually my daughter comes in at about 6 a.m. So if I do that, I know I've got 7 or 8 hours, which is really important. One thing I do add in is, when I lie down and it's time to sleep, again, I just meditate. I just listen to the thoughts that are coming up, and just continually bring my awareness back to the present moment. And eventually the mind will unwind and let go. But yeah, I would say that works for me. Just making sure I get at least 7 hours before my daughter comes through the door first at 6 a.m. in the morning.
Your daughter is your alarm clock. You don't need an alarm
Exactly. I'd love to sleep in a bit longer, but it never happens.
Yeah, that's good. She gets you up. All right. So this was an amazing conversation. I learned so much from you, and I'm sure our audience did as well. How can people, Mark, connect with you, work with you, learn more about the work you do?
Thank you. Yeah, I've so enjoyed this conversation. You can tell I just love talking about this stuff. I could probably talk all night about it, but I won't. Yeah, for anyone who feels that call, just trust your own intuition. We haven't even got into intuition today, but if you're feeling called, like this is something you'd like to explore further, if your system is putting you forward, you can go to my website, which is thebuddhaspot.com. All kinds of resources on there. You've got my access to my free guide, which you can download, which is 10 steps to align your energy with your life's purpose. So there's 10 steps in there. Go for a lot of what we talked today, but goes into more detail. There's also what I call my purpose alignment assessment. You can do, there's 16 questions there, which you can check as the first step as to how aligned you are with your purpose at this time. A lot of questions in there about your internal connection, and then how passionate about you are about your work you're doing and your future vision, for example. So that's a really good first step. Also in there is, I've got a free guided meditation you can download, plus links to blogs that I've written and worksheets, all kinds of things in there. It's a really good resource. And also, I do a free workshop, Unlock Your Purpose, every couple of months. We just done one in January. There'll be another one in March. So you got the opportunity to join my wait list as well. It's all there on my site, thebuddhaspot.com, if you'd like to explore this work further.
That's awesome. That's great. So make sure you guys check him out. Check out the incredible work he's doing. It's been such an honor to have you here with us today on the World Healing Tour podcast. And I'm excited for all the work you're doing because it's so needed in the world. And thank you for what you do.
Likewise, Noah. Thank you for having me on. I really appreciate it.
Of course. Namaste. Thank you so much. I want to thank you all for joining us today on the World Healing Tour podcast. Until next time, remember to practice these 3 important things daily. Element number one, every day remember to have a grateful heart and connect to your gratitude. When you're connected to your gratitude, you're connected to positive feelings and positive emotions, and therefore drawing more positive people, things, and experiences into your life. Number 2, remember every day to ground in love and compassion. First, love and compassion for yourself. We all need more love and compassion. And then also learn to share that love and compassion with others because others need it as well. When we give out love and compassion, we get an abundance of love and compassion in return. And number 3, remember every day, it's a guided journey. You're not alone on this journey, whether it's source, universe, whatever you believe. I call it God, guided by God, because I believe in God. But whatever it is for you, you're not alone on this journey. You're always guided. Until next time, have an incredible week, everyone. Namaste. Hi, this is Noah Crane. I'm excited to share this anthology book with you, The Grass Grows Where I Am. So just join us and be a part of this incredible book to help bring your message and influence into the world. We're excited to showcase what you do to make this world better. Click the link below. The World Healing Tour Movement with your host, Noah Crane. Heal yourself, heal the world.